Hi, team, and welcome to the TeamCPNZ Quick Connect podcast, where you can stay informed, keep connected, and learn from one another along the way. I'm your team captain, Richard Greer. On today's podcast, we're going to catch up with TeamCP Athlete Ben Jordan. So Ben is based out west in Sydney, and Ben's a real asset to our TeamCP communities. Definitely one to get involved, keen to travel around a little bit as well. Ben's awesome. He's managed to get across for our adventure squad. He's been across with us for coast to coast a couple of times. He's also been involved in the Back Road 400, our trip to Northland last year. I've also hung out with him in Rotorua while he's up there. He's been involved in the TeamCP community since 2021. So a few years now. Ben's awesome to work with, always keen to learn and push himself and give things a crack. So without further ado, let's have a chat to Ben. Ben, are you there?
Hi, Rich. Morning.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. It's going good.
It's a story now. Beg your pardon. You had your cup of coffee. Yeah, we've got to acknowledge the fact that it is early for you. You're sort of just clicked over 7 in the morning, so you are looking good. The hair's looking good. You've got yourself
freshly shaved yesterday, actually. Just a bit more aero for the weekend.
Yeah, good. And you do enjoy riding your bike. Does that mean that you're not going to have your helmet on this weekend? Just full skin suit. Full aero this weekend. Well, what I was leaning towards there is are you going to be Zwifting or are you going to be riding your bike outside?
Well, I think it's going to be a mixture of both. I'm just looking outside now, so it's a bit rainy this morning, so it will definitely be a Zwift session later today. Yep. But the weekend is looking good, actually. Saturday and Sunday, nice clear skies. So yeah, I'll be out getting some real life vertical meters Saturday and Sunday.
Like to hear it. So let's start with that May Meters Challenge, real life vertical meters outside the purebred ones. How is the May Meters Challenge going so far for you, Ben?
Well, it depends when you think I officially started. So I don't know how I forgot, but I didn't really think about entering it. I don't know why. So I entered that yesterday. So based on
so that's the 8th of May, but that was the end of yesterday. So let's just call it the 9th.
End of yesterday. So look, up to today, I'm at 2,200 vertical meters, which is basically made up of 2 rides. So I did an event last Saturday where I got a good 1,000 meters vert, and then I did a Zwift ride on Wednesday and got 1,000 there. I've done other rides since, but I kind of did those on the flat, which was a bit of an oversight on my part. I'm going to be coming behind quickly.
Giving the rest of us a head start was just very charitable for you. I just actually looked down the leaderboard there, and you were sitting at about 40th. So you're back on the rail. A bit to do. You've got a couple of laps left though, so let's see how you can finish. So look out for Ben Jordan. He's a bit of a dark horse at this stage. Yeah,
I'm just letting the domestiques do their work and get a good lead out train, and then it's all about the last Sunday in May, isn't it? Really.
Well, it is. So talk to us about the last Sunday in May. As you say, like you've been with us for a few years now, a part of that TeamCP community. And one thing we do try and, I guess, create, and that's part of this podcast today, is sort of bring people together and that are all over the place, all around the world. So last Sunday in May, what's the plan there?
Last Sunday in May is Everesting Sunday. So we're going to give Everesting a bit of a go on Sunday on Zwift. It's where I think it's the anniversary of when Hillary first did an ascent of Everest. I'm yet to do it. I have attempted it. The first time technology failed me at like 4.5 laps. We don't have much phone signal where I live, so I couldn't tether to 4G, and my internet just went down. That's the long and short of it.
So just on that, you were like, the Everest is 8,848 vertical meters in one hit. So there's a lot of people that have done it outside, up certain climbs, up and down. You can do it on foot if you're really, really keen. That's a lot of downhill. It takes probably a good 24 hours on foot, but on Zwift, you can do it as well, up and down the Alp climb in Zwift. And you were riding on that particular day for what? 6 hours internet phone?
I think it was either 4 or 5 a.m. Sydney time, and I was on the bike till I think it was about noon. So I was deep in. And I kind of accepted my fate, I suppose. And then the internet gods took my Wi-Fi away from me.
Okay, so it wasn't meant to be step one after being up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's hard yards. So that's the first crack. Second crack, what happened then?
I was sick, basically. I wasn't well. It was a non-starter, in short.
Yeah.
The end of May was not good for my my immune system.
So that's why we need to make sure we look after you properly to make sure you're good for that. And then you're going to have
I'm building, and I'm not going straight in.
Yeah, whatever. You're just slow to get started. So yeah, that'll be awesome. So if you do have Zwift capability, we'll be using the Discord app that we use on our group sessions, and join in for even some part of the day. There'll be a few that we're going to try and do the whole lot. There's a word that Coach Amanda is going to have a crack at that as well. It's the only Zwift badge she doesn't have. I probably won't do the whole lot. I think we'll probably have some hockey to watch on a Sunday with my daughter playing, but we'll definitely be up and down the hill for a few laps as part of that as well. So line that up. But also, if for those that are listening to this, if you've got, doesn't have to be indoors, encourage people to get out and get a good crack at your vertical meters to round May off as well. So, that's awesome. So, Ben, let's just take a step back. Tell us a bit about your background. What do you do for a day job? What do you do when you're not riding your bike, running, etc.? What are you up to?
Yeah, so for a day job, so I work for the George Institute for Global Health, and we're a medical research organisation. We basically tackle some of the biggest health challenges affecting people around the world, particularly in communities that are kind of often overlooked or underserved. And basically our work is to find really practical, evidence-based solutions to things like heart disease, stroke, chronic illness, but also like really urgent issues like drowning in children. Drowning is one of the biggest killers of young children in lower and middle income countries, especially in like really rural areas where families live near open water. And kind of my role in all of that, I kind of work globally. So I run a global team, and my role in that is to find people, organisations, partners on how we're going to fund all of that work. So that's what I do for a job. So we've got really clever researchers working out what all the solutions are. And my job is to make sure that we've got the money to be able to then deliver and implement those solutions to lots of different partners. So we work with like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bloomberg, so all the really big foundations and corporates to fund that work, and different governments, all across the world. So it's really rewarding, really interesting. I get to meet some really amazing people, both the people that support our work, but also the researchers doing our work, but then also the communities that we're impacting as well. So yeah, it's really rewarding.
Yeah, and as part of that, you also get to do a bit of travel as well. You're definitely one that I look at and go, gosh, I'm living vicariously through what Ben's up to.
So I really wonder if I actually have a job, but I do. I am lucky. I'm really fortunate that I do get to travel with work. That's usually to Europe or to India or basically places in Asia. I think it's really easy when you travel with work just to go there, go to the hotel and just work all the time. But yeah, it is a privilege to be able to travel to those places. So you kind of need to make the most of it. I'll try and get out and about and see some stuff, which is really interesting. But there's also risk around that. Sometimes you might get a bit sick.
Yes. Tell us. Unfortunately, you got sick in India, but tell us before you got sick, what happened? What did you get up to in India last year?
Yeah, so one of my trips, I was there for 2 weeks and also had a spare weekend in the middle, and it was actually a public holiday in India on the Friday. So maybe I had an extra day of work, which was helpful. So I was in Delhi, and Delhi is about 5-6 hours by train south of the Himalayas. And I was like, oh, I've not been to the Himalayas. Like that'd be pretty cool to go to the Himalayas. And I was like, and Indian, I always want to get trained in India. I'm not particularly in trains, but I just thought it'd be fun. So yes, I put myself onto a train, which was an experience in itself, to be quite honest. Like, yeah, all of the stuff you imagine it to be. And went to a place called Rishikesh, which is where the Beatles went and wrote an album once. And that was a pretty cool, interesting place, right on the banks of the Ganges. So the famous river, and everyone was bathing in the Ganges. So that was pretty interesting. And there's a couple of really good things to do there. One of them is to go mountain biking, and one of them is to go rafting. So I had a Saturday and a Sunday, and I was like, right, well, I go mountain biking on Saturday, and then I go rafting on Sunday. So yeah, went mountain biking in the Himalayas, well, in the foothills of the Himalayas, I suppose. We didn't go to like 8,000 meters, but we went to like 3,500 meters. And then basically just they drove us up there, so we didn't get any vertical meters up. And then we just mountain biked all the way down into the valley, avoiding the cows, goats, people that were just like wandering over this kind of like dirt road. So it was amazing. And then in the background, you could actually see, you know, the real Himalayas, you know, the 8,000, 7,500 meter mountains. And yeah, it was awesome to see that. I want to go back up there, and there's some really good treks you can do through those kind of higher mountains. But you need a bit more time. I couldn't really do that in a weekend. And then on the Sunday, yeah, I went rafting. So they were grade 3-4 rapids, and it was a raft. I don't know, 6 to 8 people in the raft of, I would say, very mixed ability, of not only having never paddled before, but also not even able to swim. So some people in the raft, I was like, I've done this before. A lot of them were like Indian nationals, and they're like, no, can't even swim. I'm like, brilliant, it's just going to be fun. So we're going down. There are lots of different types of companies that organise these trips. So I kind of did my research to make sure I went with someone pretty reputable, so I didn't come unstuck. So lots of good safety briefing. It wasn't seat your pants kind of stuff. So yeah, we went down the rapids, and it was awesome. But like, you know, one of the things when I learned to paddle, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, it was PLF, right? So in the rapids, just paddle, right? Keep paddling. And we hit the first rapid, and it was a pretty beefy rapid, you know, with some decent wave change, you know, kind of grade 3, grade 4 rapids. And I would say 75% of the boat stopped paddling, and it was just me and this other guy next to me. And we were at the front because we had paddled before, paddling, and we looked round and like nobody else is paddling. And we're just like, paddle, guys, paddle. Do something, exactly. But they didn't. We didn't flip, but we were kind of we were okay. But yeah, it was a real experience. So yeah, it was super fun. So. And there were some of the rapids where we could kind of float down them as well on our backs through the Ganges, and let that cleanse our souls. So yeah, it was a real good experience. Like, something you just wouldn't normally do. And I could have quite easily just sat in my hotel in Delhi all weekend and watched Netflix and gone to the hotel gym. But you got to make the most of your opportunities. So
yeah. So good.
Cool.
So since we're on the travel theme, let's jump across into Europe. So last year you also were riding your bike through the French Alps, I think, wasn't it? Is that right?
Yeah. So obviously I moved to Australia 9 years ago. So I'm from the UK, grew up in the UK, so I've obviously got lots and lots of friends over there. And again, I'm lucky enough to be able to travel to London for work, and obviously to see friends and family, and I tax and leave on that. But again, I don't just want to go around and kind of sit and have cups of tea with people. It doesn't really interest me, really. I kind of like to do things with people. So yeah, I've done a few bikepacking trips over the years in Europe. But yeah, most recently, me and my mate flew to Geneva and then cycled down to Nice, but over the Alps. So I think we did, I think it was 21 cols, like 21 passes on that trip over 7 days. I can't remember how many vertical meters. It was well in the 10,000s in over a week, 15 maybe. It was crazy. And yeah, we just bike packed it. We didn't stay in any accommodation. We just had bivvy bags. Ate a few restaurants, had a little cooker. Climbed all the climbs that you see on the tour. Probably my favorite was the Glibier. It's just such an amazing climb, and 2.5, 3 hours of climbing. You can't do that anywhere else, and you're just like, the scenery is just second to none. And we have bluebird skies every single day. Really lucky with that, and then just the most amazing descents that you can imagine. And
it just goes on hours and hours, basically. That you just
they're just like, yeah, your triceps are burning out from being on your drops, because you're just not used to being on your drops for that long. And you don't get bored, but you almost get bored of the switchbacks, because it's just like switchback.
Yeah.
But the scenery, and it's just unreal. And you're at the top and you just see the road, and it's just like a piece of spaghetti draped over this mountain range, right into the valley. And yeah, it's just, you just can't help but smile. It doesn't feel real. But I've done, we did that trip, and it was, it's just incredible from start to finish with just the most perfect weather. But I've done that route previously before as well. We did a bike ride from London, and we cycled all the way to Slovenia. So we did the Alps on that, and then we did some of the Dolomites on that. I've done the bike pack, the Dolomites as well. So again, we went Geneva and cycled to Trieste in Italy, over the Dolomites, which was again really cool. And then the first ever bikepacking trip I did, and it's kind of what got me into cycling, was we cycled from the south coast of England to Barcelona in Spain.
Okay.
And I hadn't really ridden a bike before. My friends were like, we're going to do this. Do you want to? I hadn't ridden a bike.
Got a long bike ride.
Yeah. I'd never done it properly. And they were like, yeah, okay. I was like, yeah, sounds fun. So I didn't even have like a proper road bike then. So my mate lent me an old road bike.
Yeah. And
I went out for a ride with him. I was like, God, I hate this. Like, it's really boring. I didn't enjoy it. Yeah. And then he made me then, like, I don't know, like a month later, we went and did my first 160 Ks. And I actually really enjoyed it. And I kind of enjoyed the suffering of that, I suppose, and the challenge of that. And then that was it. I was like, okay, I'm in, we're off. And we cycled right down the west coast of France, again, just bivvy bagging the whole way. And then went over the Pyrenees, and then dropped down the coast of the other side, down into Barcelona. And to me, the Pyrenees aren't as high as the Alps, but they were prettier, a lot smaller, and I found the climbs even more iconic, I suppose, because there was like the Tourmalet and the Abisk, and it was awesome. But I think my favourite climb ever is probably in the Dolomites, which is the Stelvio Pass, and that's just when you get to the top and then you see the down of the Stelvio, it's just unreal. So just loads of bikepacking trips across Europe. Really, really love it. And the ability to just be able to kind of have a plan for the day, but kind of be able to be flexible with the plan because you're just in bivvy bags. It's just, it's like proper freedom. It feels like really relaxing, even though most people don't think climbing up mountains on your bike is relaxing. It actually is very relaxing.
Yeah. With the bivvy bag, do you stay in camping grounds, or do you just try and get away from the road, find somewhere to stay?
So we just find a spot, basically, like a wooded spot, yeah, we just tuck ourselves away quietly. So it's actually really cheap.
Yeah, big time, because that's a big main expense is accommodation when you're doing these sorts of things, and then also it changes your strategy because you can kind of go as you feel based on what the weather and all those sorts of things much more when you can just kind of stop on the side of the road when you're ready to stop, really, can't you?
100%. And we kind of have like a time that we want to finish at night. So we have like a minimum, like we want to get to this point to kind of meet our distance. But I mean, so much, you know, the nature of adventures is that so much goes wrong all the time. When we were doing the Dolomites, we had like a massive snowstorm and ice storm come in. We were actually halfway up the mountain when that was happening, and there was nowhere to stop. So we pushed through and down the other side. But then when we got down the other side, we were supposed to be doing another climb, but there'd been an avalanche and the road was shut. So we actually booked accommodation that night because it's a bit too chilly to stay out. And we were like, how do we, and the next mountain over from that was the Stelvio. We were like, well, how are we going to get to the next valley to get over it? So we spent the whole day looking at a map, and then we found a service tunnel for a hydroelectric plant that went through the mountain. And we're like, oh, you're allowed through that? And cars were allowed through that, but bikes weren't. But what you could do is load your bike onto a minibus and they would drive you through that. So we had to miss a mountain, go through the tunnel in this minibus all the way through. But then behind us, there are loads of supercars. So lots of supercars go through that tunnel because of all the noise. So we had there was like a McLaren owners club that were going through the tunnel at the same time. So we had like 24 like McLaren F1s like behind us going through this tunnel with this incredible noise. Like it was just amazing. So just stuff like that kind of makes the trips. When kind of stuff goes a little bit wrong and you have to kind of fire from the hip a little bit, work out what you're going to do. You just find yourself in situations you didn't expect, and that's kind of fun. That's why you do these things, right?
Yeah, so good. Definitely firing me up. Sorry, what was that, Ben?
Yeah, so you just learn so much about yourself and about other people, and it makes I feel like it makes day-to-day life easier in a way.
Yes, it's figuring out problem solving effectively, isn't it? And communication, especially when you have to do it with someone else and when you're tired. It's all those pretty good life skills when you're out in the back of beyond trying to figure these things out. I'm going to jump to coast to coast. So that's kind of the reason why we started working together in the first place back in 2021. So tell us about your coast to coast journey and where you're currently at with that.
Yeah. So I first heard about coast when I was in the UK. I was doing kind of triathlon Ironmans at the time, and there was like a feature on 10 best races, multi-sport races, adventure races in the world. And like coast to coast New Zealand was up there. And I was like, God, one day, at the time I was living on the other side of the world. It just wasn't a possibility. I was like, wow, incredible. And then found myself living in Australia because of work opportunities. And I was like, well, it's not too far away now. I could do that. So I started to look into it and explore it. And I was like, wow, I just don't know where to start on this. It's just a bit overwhelming. I can ride a bike, I haven't got a clue how to paddle, and I can do a bit of running. So I kind of needed some advice. So that's how I kind of got in touch with you guys, I suppose, because I just needed someone to guide me through that. I had no idea where to start. So I signed up to the 2-day individual, and ironically, that was timed with my honeymoon. It has a good element to it.
That went well, the two things going together?
Yeah, we're still married. And she's, Lauren's probably, apart from you guys, probably my biggest enabler of all the things I'm able to do. That shouldn't be overlooked. Did the 2-day individual and did great. Loved it. Felt well prepared. COVID had happened during that time, so I'd had a few extra years to prepare for it. And that meant I got to do lots of paddling on Sydney Harbour. So I'm actually an all right paddler now, having not paddled before. I really enjoy it. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Had a great 2 days, and was like, kind of want to give the longest day a bit of a crack. Knowing that you're kind of rolling the dice on the longest day, having spent some time with some athletes who had done it or not done it during that time, and I was like, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to give that a crack. So this year, February lined up for the longest day. I had been to India, and the build-up had been great. So through that year, the build-up had been good. And then I had to do a work trip to India. And unfortunately, I got quite sick when I got back from India. So I managed to pick up Giardia and rotavirus, which aren't particularly good for your gut, and you spend lots of time on the toilet with that. And unfortunately, that was basically knocked me out for about 9 weeks in total of just not being able to do anything, which was pretty rough. At probably the worst possible time in preparation for doing something like the longest day. So I was basically out from October until like Christmas. Having not been able to do very much, and literally like every bit of me was just everyone was saying to me, Lauren, my parents, whoever, everyone's like, what are you doing about Coast? And I didn't enjoy that conversation. I was like, I don't know, I don't know. So you were great in that situation because you were someone who I suppose wasn't emotionally involved in that. I was like, well, you don't need to make any decisions now. You don't need to make that decision now. You haven't got all the data. You just don't know. So just do what you can. Get better, do what you can. So I came out to New Zealand at the beginning of January because I can do some remote work to prep for that, and I was feeling all right. Right, I wasn't as fit, particularly on the running, as I knew I wanted to be. You can't, I can ride a bike and you can paddle, but you kind of can't bluff running up a mountain. And you do need some really good CV fitness and be used to that terrain. And I knew that wasn't what I needed it to be. But again, I was kind of coached not to panic about that. And then probably the best piece of advice was like to reset your expectations. So what are you actually wanting to do? Is it about winning longest day? Is it about completing longest day, or is it actually just about giving it a go and giving it a crack and seeing how you go? And if you're kind of okay with that, then it doesn't really matter. Like everything else doesn't really matter. And that really helped me to reframe things in my mind. Like it became about the journey and not the destination. And I think that's the whole thing about Coast. It is, of course, the race day is amazing and important. It's about all the stuff that you do on the way. Well, the stuff that you do, the people that you meet, the experiences you have, that enable you to then do the day, which is like this big victory lap, basically. So yeah, that reframed everything in my mind. So I was really kind of my finish line. It sounds a bit weird me even saying this out loud, but my finish line was the start line. So I was so proud to be able to put myself mentally be able to put myself on that start line, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get myself on that start line for the start at 6 a.m. and be like, yeah, like I'm here. And I was like, I'm just going to let the day unfold as the day unfolds.
All the stuff that you're talking about now really goes back to that travel stuff that you're talking about as well. It all relates that too, doesn't it? In terms of how you're managing yourself and how you're figuring it out. It's an adventure, and we're not sure what the adventure is going to be until we're in it, and you have to figure it out along the way.
Yeah, and I think that's where you can get quite easily stressed about stuff because you're just solely focused on the outcome, and all the anxiety or the worry or the kind of mental game is all about, well, will I get that? How will I get that? Is this going to work? And it's not particularly helpful at the time. It's just like, well, this is where I am right now. This is what I need to do. So if I just do that, and then that will move me one step forward, and eventually, it will end. When I'm really on bike rides or stuff, it's like, well, every pedal stroke, will take you to the end. And it sounds a bit breezy and a bit naff, but it's true. Like you just need to keep going until you can't go. And then when you can't go, you stop, and that's kind of okay because you've done what you can. So that was the approach that I took to coast. So got through the first run, obviously, managed the 2K run off the beach. So I was like, tick, done. Great. And it was all right. Like I was kind of on my target. I had target times I wanted to hit. Got through the first bike and actually felt really good after the first bike. I probably undercooked it on reflection, but I knew the run would be the hardest bit. So I kind of wanted to go into that feeling well prepared or feeling good, not feeling tired. So on reflection, I probably could have gone a bit harder on the bike, but that was the right strategy for me on the day at the time. I'm okay with that. And then the run started, and I felt really good up to Doreen's Creek, and I was kind of hitting my target times, and I was like, I wasn't letting myself get too far ahead, but I was like, this could be on. Like if I get through the run, I'm a good paddler, and I'm going to do this. So I was like, okay, we're on. So felt good up to Doreen's Creek, and then probably about 700 meters after Doreen's Creek, when obviously it gets really gnarly, I got found out. I got found out big time. So it was like falling off a cliff. I think I just had no energy. Everything just went. I just had no energy. I was trying to eat. I couldn't eat as much. It just wasn't happening. Is the long and short of it. And I kind of knew that the wheels, the doors, the engine, the seats were all kind of all falling off. And I wasn't upset about that. I was just like, well, let's just keep going as long as I can, and just see what happens. So got up to the hut, and I remember I don't remember, but I do remember. The medic was like, and I was inside the cutoff, and the paramedic or the medic guy was like, well done, Ben, how are you, all right? And I kind of don't remember this, but he said at the time that I kind of just looked through him and didn't really respond. So he kind of stopped me and was like, are you okay? And I was just like, I think I need a little sit down. I was like, he's like, I think we need a little sit down. So I sat down, and I actually just felt really unsafe on the mountain, and I don't usually feel unsafe and stumbly. So the long and the short of it, I pulled myself off at that point, because I just felt completely unsafe to continue. And that wasn't a difficult decision. That I didn't find that particularly upsetting at the time. I was just like, well, that's it. I'm done. I've done what I can.
That's the best decision you can make with that is what it is. You can't do anything about it. You gave it your best crack, and all those things that happened beforehand in terms of the being crook for 9 weeks after your Indian trip, etc. I mean, it all adds to that. So pretty cool for actually giving yourself the opportunity to have a go. And unfortunately, on that particular day, it wasn't your day.
And I learned so much during that trip. So it's not it's I'll be back, and it's just so that's made me more resilient, I feel, by going through that, and I will cross that finish line.
We'll get back. So what's the plan for the year ahead now? What are you up to at the moment?
All about cycling at the moment. So Waka is what I'm aiming for in October. So I've got an entry to that. So I am riding my bike and riding my mountain bike lots and lots, which is great. I am experiencing lots of new trails. There's some great new mountain bike trails opened up here in Australia. So I'm particularly enjoying that. I've got some really great build-up events. So I'm actually off to Europe. I've got a work trip to the UK in 5 weeks. And I've got a bit of work. I've got a reasonable amount of work, and then I'm going to the Lake District. I'm going to do a bit of mountain biking in the Lake District, and some hill walking there. there's a gravel event just down the road from my parents' house in Salisbury. So I've entered this Stone Circle 130k gravel event. And then I'm going to watch, we're going to watch the Tour de France. Conveniently, it's on at the same time I'm over there.
That's well planned.
Yeah, very well planned. Unfortunately, it's not the mountainous stages. It's around northern France, but that'd be pretty cool. And then we'll obviously take our bikes. We're going to cycle kind of between the stages. So we'll be doing a good 100k day during that week. So yeah, lots of cycling in that time in France and the lakes and kind of south coast. Then I've got a really cool event lined up in August called the Gravel Muster, and that's up in Alice Springs in Australia. So that is gravel riding in the red dirt, like in the outback, and you stay on kind of big gravel muster stations, and that's a 4-day stage event with lots of different time sections. So kind of half that you're racing and half that you're really enjoying. So yeah, I'm super stoked about that. I think that's going to be really good. A few other kind of gravelly mountain bike events in July, August, September time, and then over for Waka. And I'm not really sure after that. A little bit of me. Oh, I should say actually, now I've got an entry to Edition Zero. I was supposed to do Edition Zero gravel last year, but I was in the bathroom on the toilet, so that wasn't happening. So coming back to get Edition Zero done. And then I'll just see how I am. A little bit of me wants to continue rolling through that, maybe to March and do the Volcanic Epic. And maybe that might be a nice little line in the sand there to kind of roll through all the way through to March next year. So yeah, Waka, Edition Zero, Volcanic Epic. And then, potentially not potentially, probably then coast in 27. Longest day is. I think that's where I'm going.
I haven't
2-3 years of my life. There you go.
That's really good. I do find that this podcast, as I say, living vicariously through you and a number of other people, most people that I talk to on this podcast, basically. But yeah, when I grow up, I want to be a little more like you, Ben. It's cool. What a great plan that you've got ahead. You've done lots of cool stuff, and it's been fun to be part of that over the last wee while as well. So thank you so much for joining us. I feel like we almost need to do maybe a fortnightly catch up with Ben with all the different adventures you're going to be doing over the next wee while. Maybe we have a segment with Ben or something. But yeah, really, really appreciate you being part of our community and all the good things that you do, and looking forward to doing some virtual meters with you later on in the month of May as well.
Yes, over in New Zealand. I forgot about that. Yeah, great. Can't wait.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, well, you take care, and we'll catch up with you soon, Ben.
Cool. All right. Cheers, guys.
Well done. Thank you.